Welcome to Dial It In, a podcast where we talk with fascinating people about marketing, sales, process improvements, and tricks that they use to grow their businesses. Join me, Dave Meyer, and Trygve Olsen of BusyWeb as we bring you interviews on how the best in their fields are dialing it in for their organizations. Let's ring up another episode.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Online and In Your Ear. Dial It In, our summer rebroadcast of some of the favorite episodes from our staff. This week was an episode that was chosen by producer Andy, which also features Andy, somebody that I've worked with for going on 15 years now. I've never actually talked to in person before we recorded this episode. She's a graphic designer who lives in the Philippines named Stephanie. Has done an amazing amount of work for me over the years and as well as for BusyWeb. And we had a really amazing discussion that Andy took part of as well, and he is a talented graphic designer as well. So some of the things that we learned from Stephanie was that there really are jobs in graphic design where you can just make logos and brochures and get really good at it. If you're that kind of person, you're artistic, and because branding is really about connecting with a certain audience and triggering emotions and feelings. So it doesn't really matter where you work around the globe, design and creativity across all aspects of society. I'm proud to bring somebody that I think the world of, who also somebody else I thought the world of, and took part in the presentation as well. So please enjoy today's episode. Seriously, this is weird. I came at the right time, the normal recording time, and everybody's got like Post-it notes over their camera or something. Are you all here? Where? Dave? God, I don't know where anybody is. I don't even know who the guest is. Well, hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Dial It In. My name's Trygve. I'm your host. You don't really know where everybody is, but today's episode is sponsored by fractionaltactical.com. As a fractional CMO, your number one goal is to deliver success to each of your clients. With limited time and resources, you need marketing solutions that are data-proven, easy to execute, and repeatable. BusyWeb understands the unique challenges marketing executives face. That's why we offer customized solutions for our fractional CMO partners. You tell us the results you need, and we create the strategy and MarTech stack to get you there. You have a concrete plan, your clients have measurable results, and you look great. We helped you get there. Everyone wins. Visit fractionaltactical.com to find your tactical marketing partner today. Well, I guess I'll maybe...
Whoa, Trig, you here? Trig?
Where? Yeah, hi.
Trig?
Yes, hello.
Sorry, a couple minutes late. Did you start already?
Well, yeah, we kind of... Yeah. Where is everybody? What are you guys pulling?
You're here. I'm here.
What?
Dave's on vacation, so Dave's not here.
I know. Yeah. I love that Cheech and Chong thing. What is going on, Andy? Where is our guest? Do we have a guest today?
Oh, we've got a guest today.
Is it Dolly Parton?
No, it's not Dolly Parton.
It's Dolly Parton, isn't it?
It's Dolly Parton.
Wow,
but
man.
Better than Dolly Parton. Let me just tell you.
Okay.
You've known this person for over 15 years.
Well, it can't be my son. Is it my wife?
No, it's not your wife.
Okay.
It's somebody you've worked with. You've hired her many times before.
Andy.
Okay.
Hey, Nicole. Welcome.
What are you guys
I am
doing?
so
This
sorry
is the worst radio drama ever. What is going on?
Did you tell him yet?
No.
You didn't tell him?
We just started talking about this. So
I was like, miss it.
You didn't miss the big review.
All right. No. I got to get comfy for this.
Oh boy, nothing like working with the best and brightest. So somebody I worked with for 15 years, who I've hired repeatedly over 15 years.
Yep. This person probably has one of the best Instagram portfolios on the internet that I've ever seen. In fact,
is it The Rock?
It's not The Rock, but that's a really good guess. No, we should get The Rock though. That'd be an interesting guest. The different story, different time. No, she's a.
Wait a minute. I know what's going on, and I know why you haven't told me who the guest is.
Why is that?
It's because I've never actually talked to her before.
You have never talked to this person before? No.
Until today. Oh my goodness.
No, you have told me that you implicitly trust her more than just about anybody else in the world, which is pretty strong.
And quite literal, because she's not anywhere close to us in the world.
She is not anywhere close to us in the world. No. So you know who it is?
Is it Stephanie?
It is Stephanie. Yeah.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Hi, Trygve. It's been a while.
One of the longest relationships I've ever had with a woman, and probably one of the most successful because I've never talked to her.
So, yeah, Stephanie is joining us.
Oh, how fun.
So, Stephanie is the founder and creative director of Stephanie Vanhhouche Design. She specializes in custom branding and creative solutions for businesses. And with over 15 years of experience, so you knew her way back when she was just starting out, Trig. Stephanie has worked with companies to develop designs that authentically represent their brand and connect with their audiences. Her approach blends creativity with strategic insight, helping businesses navigate branding challenges and build cohesive, impactful identities. Stephanie is passionate about guiding companies through the process of crafting visual stories that reflect their values and drive their success. Well, that's a lot of words to say she's amazing. Trygve, you introduced me to Steph, probably 7 or 8 years ago?
7 or 8 years ago, yeah. When I had my own business and I did logo design, I had hired somebody in India, and then he sold me a design that was actually somebody else's. And so I had to go somewhere completely else. And I found her. I don't even remember how. And every time that I used her for logo design, everything was gorgeous. The work was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. We've done, Stephanie, how many now? Probably about 7 to 10 projects together.
I think so. Yeah. I would say around that number, 10.
And every one of them absolutely amazing.
So, well, this is so interesting on a number of different levels, because I think, let's tease this out. We are all in the central part of the United States as we're recording it. Stephanie, where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Brussels, Belgium. I grew up mostly around Asia. My dad was a diplomat, so we moved around like every 3 to 4 years. And my mom is Filipino, so when my dad retired, he chose the Philippines, obviously sunnier, nicer. And now I've been living here in the Philippines for the last, 15 years.
Wow.
So our go-to logo designer, the person that we know and love the most at BusyWeb, is, despite us being in the United States, is Belgian, but living in the Philippines. So we literally crisscrossed the globe with her. Oh my God, that's just so wild. Okay, so Steph, first question I want to ask you is, how do you do that when you are working with people all around the globe and all sorts of different languages? How many languages do you speak?
Oh, I only speak 2.
Oh, okay.
So nothing impressive there. No, just French and English, I guess. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So neat. How do you work with people from around the globe? There's all sorts of different cultures, all sorts of different wants, different needs. How does that get communicated into be able to synthesizing all that down into a picture?
Well, I think it helped that I grew up a little bit. Like, I grew up in various different places, so I got to experience different cultures. I'm biracial, so I'm from 2 cultures. And I think that that's really helped me designing for people that are in a different country. I love traveling. I draw inspiration a lot from that. And I mean, the internet is there, so you can really research and, find out anything you need to kind of educate yourself on what you need to do to create something that is visually fitting for that client.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting things that a lot of people don't realize is, informationally, the world really is flat, and you can find just about anything you need if you know where to look for it. What I started 18, 19 years ago doing a little bit of design, and then I kind of petered out in terms of my ability, much like my jump shot, led you to want to get in design. Because for me, I think what I had is I'd have a really good idea and I would be so restless until I got it out and saw it. what was your experience as you started out in deciding you wanted to become a designer?
Well, I mean, I've always kind of had a penchant for anything creative. I struggled a lot in high school because it was a lot of reading, a lot of stuff that didn't really interest me. Math, geography, all of that. And I would just spend my time like redecorating my notebooks, my diaries. I would customize them. And little did I know that I could make a career out of that. So eventually when I found out, there's this job, it's called graphic design, and you can just, do brochures, logos. And I love that idea. So I jumped right in, and I feel like best decision ever. And it's been 15 years that I've been doing this. There's not a day that I'm bored or that I, feel like I'm running out of inspiration. So I feel it's something that kind of came natural to me.
Your expertise really is in logo design and branding. So
Yes.
there are all sorts of other sort of styles. Is that something that if I just blandly look for a graphic designer, that graphic designer could do well?
Well, that's the thing. Most non-professionals don't really understand what branding is really about. They would think that, it's just about creating a little icon or a little picture with the name of my business on it. It's just so much more than that. It's about developing a connection with a specific target audience. It's about triggering emotions and certain feelings. It's really connecting to these to people. And that's something that you need to do with everything you create. There's certain stages that you need to go through to get to point A to point B. And that's the thing about branding. It's so much more complex than what most people see. And it's really an emotional connection. For example, like if you're designing something for food, you'll want to use round shapes, warm colors, things that are appetizing that, if someone looks at a certain design or logo, they feel hungry. So these are things that you don't necessarily think about, but a graphic designer will have to think about all these little elements.
What are the sort of the tentpole things that you really need to have a good understanding of that you ask of people?
Well, I usually ask people to define their brand within one sentence. Like if they had to describe their brand in one sentence, what would that be? And then I like to ask, okay, and if it were one word, what would that be? And then from there, we kind of decide who's your target audience? What's your message? Who's your message for? How do we deliver that message? So then comes a barrage of questions, but those are really the first questions that I like to ask. But they generally just tell me without me having to ask. So,
and I think that's one of the things that I don't think a lot of people have an appreciation for is all of those questions tend to get filled out in a form. And it's one of those things that sometimes people hitch on is they think, oh, well, I have to fill out paperwork. Why can't you just make me a pretty picture? Well,
Yep.
You can make them a pretty picture, but it's not necessarily a relevant pretty picture. And that's usually
Exactly.
what's called a creative brief. And that tends to permeate into other things. So, Andy, what questions do you have to ask people in order to really start coming up with like a web design, especially as it dovetails in with the logo design?
Well, I think Steph hit it on the head. It's who are you talking to? It's what are their needs and wants? What do they hope to get out of the website? Similar to a logo. Who are we trying to communicate with? At what level are we trying to communicate? Are we trying to find someone who's getting just information? Are we trying to sell a product? What are we trying to do on the website? And that really dovetails into a lot of what Steph is trying to do here with logo design as well. We're trying to connect at some level with the persona, which is your ideal buyer, and then engage them in some kind of activity, whether that's selling them a product, giving them information, telling them about what you are as an organization.
We've talked with guests before about branding and brand identities. Steph, I'm kind of curious what made you decide that this was going to be your focus, and how did this become such a passion for you? And why is it so important for businesses to be successful?
I mean, I've always loved, like I mentioned before, I love design. And initially I wanted to be a packaging designer. That's what I really wanted. And that's how I started out when I was probably 18 or 19 years old. The thing that I realized very quickly is that no one wants to spend on expensive boxes or intricate packaging that costs money to make. So from there, I had to kind of, find a new venue. My next best thing was I've always loved working with logos, and it kind of grew from there. And I had a newfound appreciation because that's where really everything starts. It's from the logo. And it's something that's so simple and so, I don't want to say easy, but it's basically everything just in that little logo design. And that's what makes it so important.
One of the things that I've learned from Steph is it's also important to understand how your logo is going to be designed and how it's going to be used. So one of my earliest designs of the company that I had before I came to work here many years ago, Steph said, well, what do you want to do with this? And I said, well, I want it on a business card. I want it on shirts and stuff like that. And she said, oh yeah, then we need to change it. I said, what do you mean we need to change it? Because if things are monogrammed on a shirt, then stitch count matters. And if it's over a certain level, the shirt's not going to look good after a while and the logo's not going to look good. So it's not just a picture on a paper, it's really a whole identity. And the other thing that she had asked me at the time years ago, which I have repeated hundreds of times in my life since then, is you're going to have to look at this every single day. Does this make you happy? And can this make you money? So, Steph, when do you think a business comes to the conclusion that they really need to change their brand?
Ooh, it's an interesting question. I feel like if they're not selling, if it's not working, that could mean several things. They didn't hit the mark with their audience, they didn't understand their target audience properly, or they're miscommunicating their message, or they're just something that they're not doing right. Now, you'll have to really go into detail and analyze where they went wrong and pinpoint exactly what they're doing. But I mean, there are three things that you really need to keep in mind with any brand. It's consistency. You need to always be consistent in your delivery. That way you make an impact, you stay memorable. I mean, it's called branding because it's about making an impression. It's about making your mark on your audience. So that's something that's very important. And number two is understand your target audience. As Andy mentioned, who they are, what do they like, what do they do? You create a client profile and you go over it. You make maybe 3 client profiles of the typical person that would gravitate towards your brand. And then 3 is you create a visual that aligns and you kind of create a bridge between those two, between your brand, your message, your core values, and your target audience. So if you miss the mark on any of those 3 key points, then yes, you may want to kind of revisit that and see, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I work on? So, yeah.
Andy, what would you think? When's a good time for a company to, because you're in design too.
Sure. I would go with everything Steph said, but also as you're adding new products or you're changing your focus, you're moving upstream, you're looking at a different audience. An example might be maybe a company starts as a small B2B company. They just work on small B2B brands, and now they're moving to mid or large cap B2B brands, and they need to up their image. Maybe they need to change the focus of who they are as an organization, or maybe they've found and stumbled into or developed a new product that takes over the whole brand, and they need to actually change the brand to the product rather than to the brand, and the main corporate becomes a secondary behind that. So
I think one of the things that I see all the time is brands get reverted to the least common denominator. You typically see this a lot if you think about home remodelers or real estate agents, is they have some variation of some clip art house with their name on it. And like Stephanie smiling is like, yep, seen a lot of those.
I'm done for those
Done
too.
a lot of those here. The rule that I've always sort of understood, and I don't even remember where I learned it from, is in any activity that you're at, marketing activity, you have between 2 and 5 seconds to get people to look at something, feel good about something, and then get them to do something. And if you're just like everybody else and you're not unique in the picture and the logo in which you present, then it's really time to look at something different. Because then it's just, then you're just like everybody else. And then that's going to affect your sales, which is going to affect your ability to attract the kind of customers you kind of want and get to the places where you really ultimately would like to take your business.
Steph, where do you find your creativity? I mean, where do you find your inspiration? You've got the personas, you've got the business model, you've got everything else. How do you then come up with the creative behind it? What is kind of the impetus? Where do you go? What are your sources for your muses, so to speak?
I mean, a lot of things. I mean, I watch a lot of movies, love movies.
So this is a job requirement now? If I can watch movies and get good at design?
Does help though. For me, it does help. Like it's, you watch something that's nice and a little bit artsy and oh my God, I love the aesthetic. There's so many things to draw inspiration from. I mean, it's also difficult because like everyone else, I do sometimes have some creative blocks and it's more difficult. And then you need to kind of change your environment, maybe go for a walk. That helps sometimes. Sometimes I go days, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's just, it really depends on the project. And if I have something that, okay, I'll draw inspiration from this because I've traveled to this place or I've seen something that kind of reminds me of this. Okay.
God, I'm just like in my head, like rolling through the Rolodexes of her work and all of my favorites. So one of the things I've always really liked about you is, and the work you do is sometimes your work exhibits a certain amount of actual utility, which is to say the logo is a pictorial description of what people do as well as who they are and their brand. And the one that I'm thinking of is on your Instagram page. I think it's even on your website. It was for a chiropractor, and I forget what the name of it was, like Good Feet Chiropractor or something like that. But the actual logo was somebody bending over and touching their toes, which was an end result of good chiropractic care is that you can actually do that. So what is sometimes you do that, sometimes you don't, sometimes it's relevant, sometimes you don't. How do you make that decision and can you incorporate what the actual product is into the logo?
Trying to remember that project. That was a very long time ago. I don't exactly
We've known each other for a while, but also not really. That's why it's so fun.
I know. I don't recall. This was ages ago. I don't remember the exact creative process that I went through for that. One thing that I do remember, the client did not choose that logo. That was one of the options that I gave them, yet they did not go with that option.
Oh my God. So, and that angers me terribly because nobody ever picks the right one.
How do you handle that as a creative? Because I know for me, it's really frustrating, right? So how do you as a creative, when you know that the best option is A, but they choose F?
I mean, what they say, the client is always right. That applies to the world of branding as well. And also something that's very important that one of my mentors in art school had told me was, remember, Steph, you were not an artist. You're not Picasso. It's all about the client. Your job is not to infuse any personal self-expression or personal artistic style in what you do. It's always about the client's needs. It's always about the brand. It's always about the message, target audience. So I guess when the client picks something that I personally feel is the wrong decision, I always advise them, of course, give them some professional advice, like, okay, maybe this option would be a better fit. Obviously, everything I present to the client is going to work. It's just I do have a preference for something that's a little bit more creative, but not everyone is creative. Not everyone thinks the way I do. So you kind of leave your ego at the door and just, let them have final say.
One of the things that one of my art professors used to teach me was never present anything that you can't live with in perpetuity.
Yes.
So if you've got that design that you're like, they're probably going to like this, but I really don't think that it's going to work, don't even present it. It doesn't even make the table cuts.
I'm going to wholly disagree with you there, because the client is not always right. And there is typically the meetings in which Andy and I have to get together after meetings and scream loudly and therapeutically is when people choose the wrong logo. So as an example, the last project that we did was for a company that wanted to use a variation of the theme power. And you did 5 or 6 logo designs to start. Half of them were lightning bolt things, and okay, fine. And it was fine. And the last one, which was truly just gobsmacking amazing, it was the end of a power cord, a 3-pronged power cord, which then, if you consider it, it's the 2 flat things and then the little rounded thing, and then you had wrapped the power cord around those 2 things. So it was like you were looking at the power cord at the end of it and turn it into a face, and then turn the cord into a smiley face, which also happened to look exactly like the @ sign. And we went to the client, we were like, this is the most amazing thing we've ever seen. This is brilliant. Why wouldn't you choose that? But that's kind of part of the process, right? Is you come up with a great idea and the client says, no, give me the other one.
I mean, as long as they pick something I present.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that client picked wrong. And I'll always say that. And then, they're happy now and they're enjoying the brand, but they picked wrong. So, okay. So when people are thinking about, their branding challenges, what are sort of the most common things that you see in terms of challenges of brand, and how do you go about solving them?
I think the most common one, the biggest one that I've seen in most of my clients is, I think I mentioned this earlier, inconsistent branding. And I think that stems from having so many people have their hands on the brand and handling the branding. It goes through several departments, several people. It kind of turns into this game of Chinese whispers where you end up with a logo that doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like, using different colors or using, various fonts. And then you kind of it dilutes the message of the brand. And that's when, okay, a good way to solve this, and what I've done very early on in my career, was I would just tell a company, okay, I'm going to come in for a couple of weeks. I'll design a brand book, which I like to call the brand Bible. I'll put everything in there, compile everything, color codes, fonts, how to, like, do's and don'ts for the logo, safety space, proportions, background colors, options, all kinds of things that would help with advertising, with marketing. And I go there and I create that brand Bible, and then I kind of go through each department and walk them through it.
Cool. So what exactly is your process for crafting a brand identity? Because since I met you, I basically adopted your process, and that's what I've talked to people about ever since.
Well, the first step, and obviously the most critical, important key step, would be to, the discovery stage. That's where you're introduced to the brand, where you get to learn about the brand. And I think that communication is very important. Communicating with your client, kind of, talking to them, asking them questions, or having them basically just give you all the information they have is always helpful. And then you get to learn about the target audience, like I mentioned earlier, client profiles, who are you talking to, what message are you delivering. So that's the first stage. And then the second stage is coming up with a visual identity. And what I like to do is I like to provide a variety of concepts that I feel hit the nail on the head.
So
and just
I want to pause your narrative here, because there's something illustrative that I want to say. As somebody who's supported your work for well over a decade now, there's 2 things that I get in response when people talk about discovery. Is 3 things. Number 1, they'll either say, okay. Number 2, they'll say, well, I don't have any of that information. At that point, then a new logo really can't save you. And that's a new logo that won't help. Number 3 is people say, I don't want to pay you to learn about my business. You should know that already. And at that point, if you're an aspiring artist, if you're a real serious graphic designer, that's your opportunity to say, well, bye then, thanks. because then that person's just looking to check a box, and they want you to put 5 pretty pictures in front of you, not things that resonate, not things that can actually make you money and do something interesting.
Yep.
So, all right, continue. We're at the picture stage.
Yeah. So I like designing a variety of options for them to look at. I call it a design sample platter. And then from there, you kind of build. So that helps me also know what the client likes, dislikes. And then it's easier to build off when you already have something to work with. So they'll just tell me, I like this color. I feel like I connect more with this type of font or this shape. And then you kind of keep going from there until you develop something that the client is happy with and that you know will work well with the target audience as well.
And people really do emotionally connect with things. There's always that what was the SNL sketch? Why have I turned into an angry old man who can't remember funny things today?
Are you talking about the papyrus skit?
The papyrus sketch, yes.
Oh, with the avatar logo?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen that. Papyrus.
Yeah, and that's I think it's just because everybody sees stuff all the time and they like what they like and they don't like what they don't like. But yeah, that is a class. That is a class. I don't remember what my point is. I'm just so flummoxed that I'm actually talking to Steph today. How do you measure creativity with measurable results? Like, how, if somebody's wanting to invest in a brand and they say, "Well, I want ROI on that." Is there real ways to do that? Andy, I want you to chime in there too.
I'll start. Steph's thinking about this one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
How do you measure ROI on a creative in any way, shape, or form? I think whether it's a website, whether it's a logo, whether it's a brand guideline, or any kind of marketing material, the way you measure ROI is, did you make the sale? Did the numbers start going in the right direction? Did it get recognized? Are you top of mind the next time somebody needs to make a choice for whatever product or service that you're selling? All of those go into the ROI. So it's not just going to be the brand. It's not just going to be the website. It's not just going to be the trade show booth, but all of that works together in conjunction to keep you top of mind and keep you front of presence or when somebody's looking for that product or service.
Yeah, I mean, I think my answer to that would be, are you making more or less money than you did before? And as Steph, as you said, if you're really not making enough money, it means you're not resonating with the people you're talking to. It either means you're not talking to the right people or you have a brand issue. So it's difficult to, and it kind of leads me to my next question is, with the advent of AI. Well, first of all, let's start there. How's your experience been with image generation? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do you use it?
I mean, for me, I had to learn how to use it. And I know, Andy, we've done a couple of stuff with Midjourney, and I've actually been working more with it. And I took a couple of courses for that as well, generate the proper prompts. I know there was like a project where I had to create a recurring character with Midjourney. So there's like specific prompts, keywords to use. So that's something that I had to kind of look into. And you don't really have a choice as a designer. In order to stay relevant, you have to implement these tools, and it won't replace you. I don't feel like my job is being threatened by AI. Like I said, humans are emotional creatures. AI will never be able to replace or mimic human emotion the same way. So you can always use these tools to your advantage and kind of help you with your work. And so, yeah, Midjourney, ChatGPT. I know AI is now also they've integrated it into the Adobe Creative Suite. So now you have Photoshop generating prompts as well. You can use that too. And just type in, instead of using your little lasso to cut out someone off the photo, you can do that automatically in the click of a button and then just go in and clean it up. That saves me an hour of work right there. So definitely, it's a great tool, but it's not something that will ever replace real design that connects with humans.
And it also doesn't come up with really good ideas. The thing about design is working with a real human is, especially if they're simpatico. Like with you, I've always felt like if I say I need a bear riding a motorcycle from the 1950s wearing a red helmet, you and I have always had this odd simpatico that when I get back a bear riding a 1954 Indian or a Harley Davidson wearing a red helmet, it's exactly what I wanted in my head. But there's just those concepts are so interpretive. There's thousands of different ways to get there. And just using a tool means that you have to go through like ChatGPT is you're going to have to go through all those tools. It's going to be the thing you want, but also it's not. And it's that emotional reaction to go, well, that's not what I wanted. Why am I doing this? That's the value of working with designers. They get to what you want certainly quicker. And I think one of the things that Andy and I do, especially when we use Chat GPT and those things, is we always like to do the count the fingers game. When you ask it to make pictures of people, is how many fingers do they have? And I think Dave and I did a webinar recently where we talked about AI, innovations in AI, and he even purposefully used a woman who had 6 fingers on one hand and then 3 on the other. And then he said, then the prompt was use that same woman to make a different picture. And then the fingers switched hands. So the right hand now had 3 fingers and the left hand now had 6 fingers. So it's absolutely not a replacement. And that's one of the things reasons why I wanted to ask you the question, Steph, is that, yeah, you can do a lot of fun things with it, but when it's going to be the picture on your wall, on your business cards, taped to the side of your trucks, the thing on your shirts, no, just no. Use real people who have a real creativity for sure. I want to wrap up by a couple of things. Number one is, I think one of the questions that I always struggle with people is they say, how much does all of this cost? And can you just give me a price?
Trygve, we never talk dollars and cents on the show. Never.
Well, yeah, I know, but I get that, but I want to talk about a little bit about why it's hard to answer that question.
Sure.
Well, I mean, every project is different. Every client's need is different. You can't just slap one price on it. It's also the scope of work. So you need to really define that and then give your price. So it's difficult to throw just, a number. Oh, it's like this much. No, it really depends on what the client is looking for. If there's going to be a lot more work required, a lot more research required, it really depends.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think the problem in answering that question of how much is you're dealing with something where you are trying to get somebody to take the thing in their head, and then your job is to translate it into a real thing. And you really have absolutely no control over whether or not you nailed it or not. So the most appropriate thing, and I think, and this is kind of how we approach it together, Steph, you, me, and Andy, is here's the work we're willing to put in. And then here's what the price for that work is. We're hoping that we're going to nail it. Most of the time we nail it. If we don't nail it, we're going to need to keep going. But that's how you really define how much this is how much really goes in, how much effort goes into it in order to get the thing out of the client's head and down into a usable form. And so what I don't think a lot of people realize is they are participating in that effort because they have an obligation to give you the things that you need in order to create the logo that they want. And if they can't do that, that's not on you. And that's not a fault of the designer by any means in order to get there. And that's something that I think not a lot of people really realize is if you can't talk about what you want, if you can't really exclaim what you want, you can't just say, oh, just make it bigger, or can you make it more red?
Yep, I absolutely agree. Or you have those clients that, oh, I'll know when I see it, or this is not what I want, but I can't tell you why. So that definitely make the creative process a lot more difficult. And then you have more work, more hours. So
yeah. And that's just a constant source of frustration. And I think every graphic designer has make the logo bigger printed on a t-shirt somewhere in their closet because it doesn't actually help. So I think, we always like to try and talk about illustrative lessons on this show on what people what people should really do is I think the first one is, AI robots can help, but real actual design work is truly game changing for a business. Number two is it is a symbiotic relationship. You work with the right designer to get the thing that you want that will actually make you money for sure. Steph, what's the logo that you made that was the most proud of, that did the most good? Tell us about the business and tell us about the logo.
Definitely for a fitness brand that I designed for. And I think that the reason why that project is so dear to me, it was because one, I love fitness. So I got to combine something that I love with, design, which I also love. And I also got to see that brand grow. So I was really there from the beginning to the end of the project. So this was a logo that I designed. It was for a brand that started pre-COVID. And I got to see that fitness brand really blow up during the pandemic when fitness was a lifeline for so many. And then I got to see that brand kind of transform itself again post-pandemic era. And now this brand is just a behemoth. It has an app, a fitness app, a nutrition line, a clothing line, a podcast. It's just so much more. And it was just great to see how people connected with that and they share their experience with the brand. And then you get to see, okay, I was part of a brand that helped people reach their goals, their personal goals, and just promote wellness, health. So just a great project to be part of and something that I still work on. I'm still working on that project until today, and we keep evolving and just adding to the brand.
I think my favorite work that you ever did, because I am a longtime fan, is you did a logo for a B&B that is somewhere in the world, bed and breakfast hotel called the Puzzle Ranch. And
Puzzle Mansion.
Yeah, the Puzzle Mansion. And the logo is the front gate of the Puzzle Mansion, but where the gate meets, instead of meeting like Wayne Manor, it's two puzzle pieces. And so what that always taught me is a couple of things, that sometimes simple is better. And sometimes what a logo should do is not necessarily have that utility of clearly stating what the whole experience. It should get you to imagine what's behind the gates and what comes after that.
Yep. And a local business too. So you can go, it's in Tagaytay. It's still there to this day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
So Trig, I think we need to take a trip.
Yes, road trip,
water trip, plane trip, something.
Dave, Dave, if you don't have a problem with us going, say so now. All right, well, let's pack the bags. All right, Steph, thank you so much for joining us. It has been one of the great joys of my professional career to have found you and met you, and to be able to have the trust to be able to work with you for as long that I have. And I'm so glad that you're part of our team here at BusyWeb, and because there's never a dull moment, and it's always been amazing work. And I'm so glad to have you as part of our team. This is wonderful surprise. Thank you, Nicole, for doing this, by the way. I can't believe you actually pulled this off. And she stayed up this late to talk to us.
If someone wants to see your work, find out more about you, how do they find you?
Through my website.
Which
I think that would be easiest, yes. Definitely through the website, and my contact information is there anyways.
Okay. Steph, what's next for your design career? Where are you going?
I don't know. It's been 15 years. I hope that eventually I keep learning, keep adding to my skill set, and then eventually stop learning and maybe pass the reins on to the next generation. But that's obviously in like 20, 30 years.
Nice.
So yeah, that would be the end goal.
Well, thanks so much for joining us again.
Yes, this is what an amazing treat. And thank you, Andy and Nicole, for pulling this off. It's been, I just have always adored her. So this has been great. So thank you. So this has been another episode of Dial It In, produced by Andy Witowski and Nicole Fairclough. I am Trygve. Dave will be back for our next episode. And much like Tony Kornheiser, with apologies to him, we will try and do better the next time.